Hello, dear ones. Father Peter John here from All Saints Orthodox Church in Bloomington, Indiana. Christ is in our midst. I hope and pray you are all well. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the prophet Elisha today, and specifically I wanted to tell a story about food. We talked about food yesterday. You know, a lot of the stories in the Bible have to do with food. In today's story, there was a famine. He's in his home city of Gilgal, and he is there with those who are called the sons of the prophets, and in the middle of the famine, they're all hungry. So he says to Gehazi, his servant, he says, Gehazi, put on the big pot to boil, and serve the men some pottage. Pottage. I guess that means soup, sort of. Something that you cook in a pot, boil in a pot, pottage. I've never heard that word before, but it's a pretty catchy word, actually. So I am going to tell you that what happens next is very understandable. One of the men of the group goes out, probably a young man, goes out to gather some herbs in the field. And while he's out there, he finds this wild vine with all of these gourds all over it. And he's so excited, because here is some food. In the midst of this famine, he's found food. He takes his apron and he fills it up with these gourds, takes them back, chops them up, puts them into the pot. Now, he had no idea what these gourds were. As a matter of fact, nobody knew what they were. And as they begin to eat the pottage, they realize that there is poison from those gourds in the soup, in the pot. And so they cry out, Elisha, my father Elisha, there is death in the pot. So Elisha says, go get some wheat flour. And they get some wheat flour. He says, sprinkle it in the pot. And they sprinkle it in the pot. And then he tells his servant, serve bowls for all of the men to eat, for there is no more death in the pot. So it's another miracle of God providing for his servants, providing food for them, miraculously delivering them from poison. And we hear about this in the New Testament, this idea that Christians will be known by these things, that they will be able to, pick up poisonous serpents, and if they eat anything that's poisonous, it will not harm them, etc. There's a list, right? And so we see that with the Holy Spirit dwelling with Elisha, that Elisha the prophet is also able, by the power of the Holy Spirit, to deliver these servants of God from death, from poisoning. This whole question of famine, it's a hard thing for us to understand in America. I will say that the first glimpse I've ever really had of this, and of course it's certainly not famine, it doesn't even come close, but there was a little bit of shock recently going through the drive-thru at Wendy's and finding that they had taken Dave's Big Triple off the menu because they didn't have enough meat for the Big Triple. Now, I don't eat the Big Triple. I'm going to tell you that right now. I don't think I've ever ordered the Big Triple, nor have I considered ordering the Big Triple. But when you see Big Triple and then there's a blank space next to it because it's not available, it just gives you pause a little bit to think. Not that there's a famine. There's not. Thank God. There's things. There's food in the aisles of the grocery store. I still don't know where the toilet paper is. I went to the grocery store yesterday, and I was looking for toilet paper, and one of the giant chain grocery stores, there were 6 packages of toilet paper there. So that's a little rabbit trail. But that being said, it's important for us to think, to remember, to understand that we are reliant upon God. We cannot get too comfortable relying for ourselves, too self-reliant, that we forget to thank God for what we have and to ask him to give us this day our daily bread. That's how we keep that relationship of prayer and communion with God, by remembering our reliance upon him and his gifts to us. Christ is in our midst. He is and ever shall be.